Today what we're going to do is we are going to go over how to take our major scale and apply those to the power chords. So let me bring the camera down and we'll get started on that. Alright, so by now you should be able to know all your power chords in E and A. And then you should also know your major scales. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And it doesn't matter where you go here, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. You go over here, doesn't matter where you go. Whole step, half step, whole step, half step. And then you should be able to do it in reverse too. Half step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. So you should be able to do that, have that down pretty well. If you don't, make sure you go back to those lessons. So in this lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to apply that major scale to our power chords. We're going to start right here on our G. We're going to be doing our G major scale, but applying power chords to it. Whole, half, whole, half. So here we go. And we're not going to apply just the power chords in the E. We're going to apply our power chords in the A too, our matching chords. So here's our starting point right here. We'll play our matching chord in the A, and then here we go. We go up one whole step. Now you gotta make sure we gotta do our whole, half. You don't start here going, okay, whole, and then half. Because if you do that, we're right here. We're stationary. We didn't move anywhere, so we did not move up a whole step. So you got to make sure you don't just call this a whole step. You only call a whole step when you actually moved up by a whole step. So you just call this like the starting point. Starting point, up one whole step. Then you go up two whole steps. Then you go up a half step. Now, where this first half step point is, that's where we have our diagonal, where you go over and down. And then we go over to the next fret, but we start on the E string, and that's your first whole step of our remaining whole half. Now, the reason we call this first whole step, even though we did this and went over here and you just started right here, that's because right here we're actually moving from here to here. That's a whole step, because if you remember, we're going whole, half step. That's where we played our chord on the A string. We didn't go directly down. We went over and played that other note here on the 9th fret. But on the E string, from here over to here, that's our first whole step. So the 10th fret. So we went over here, that fret, starting the E string, 10th fret. So that's why we call that the first whole step. Then we two whole steps, third whole step, and then we go over by one more fret, and that's where it starts all over again. Whole, half, whole, half, whole, half, whole, half. And where the ending of our, our major scale meets, it's like here's the ending, and then the beginning where it all starts over. If you notice, we have stacked half steps right here. Half there, half there. The chords in this fret is our ending of our whole, half, whole. And then we move up to half to start the whole thing all over again. In this fret, that's the beginning. So it's where the ending and the beginning meets at that last half step point. And that's where our root block is located. And of course, in our root block, your root is located in the upper right hand corner of that block. So that's just what you have to remember. We have whole, half, whole. That half step point that's really what's happening is the ending of our major scale, and then we go up a half step to start the beginning of our next repeated pattern of our major scale. So just keep that in mind. Here's our root block where those two meet. But we're not going to really worry about that right now. Later on we will, but let's not worry about that right now. So what you need to do then is just pick another area and go up and do the same thing. Let's go to F. There's our starting point. Up one whole step, two whole steps, over half step, and we got our diagonal. Go up a half step, but start on the E string, and we got one whole step, two whole step, three whole step, and then if you want to include that last half step, go ahead. And there you go. Let's try one more. Let's pick a, you don't have to always do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Pick something that has a sharper flat. Let's do B flat. Here's all our power chords in the key of B flat. These are all keys, by the way. You know, we started here, that was a G major, the key of G major. Start over here, that was F major. We're going over here, we're going to do B flat. Starting point, one whole step, two whole steps. Here I got our diagonal. Then here's one whole step, two whole step, three whole step, and then again half step. Brings us up to the beginning, and again incorporates our root block. So there you go. That's all you want to do in this particular lesson. Just get yourself familiar with that and be able to pick anywhere on the neck and just go up your sequence of chords following your major scale. Remember, it's whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And where that first half step point starts, whole, whole, half, right where you move to after to that half step, that's where that diagonal is located. Then you just simply go over your half step and you start the last three whole steps. One whole step, two whole steps, three whole steps, then another half step that starts the whole thing over again. That's it. That's all you need to do. Just get yourself familiar with that. If for some reason you have any problems, let me know. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next lesson. All right, see you there.